Hi everyone, NAFTA here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it is time for a review of the new J.I.D. DiCaprio 2. This is the latest album from Atlanta native and Dreamville signee J.I.D. Following up last year's The Never Story, an album that, while it did underwhelm me, it did turn a lot of heads in the hip-hop community, and without a doubt, the flows and the lyrics on this record did put a lot of raw talent on display, but the lack of strong songwriting, coupled with J.I.D. really wearing his influences on his sleeve, did kind of make it difficult to love this album for me and see a definitive way forward artistically for J.I.D. in the future. One of his most obvious influences is actually one of his most popular contemporaries, Mr. Kendrick Lamar. And I'm not sure how much of what I'm hearing in J.I.D.'s music is an actual direct influence or copy from Kendrick's music, or if it's just a matter of coincidence in that both J.I.D. and Kendrick happen to have some pretty dynamic flows and high-pitched nasally voices. I know they both occasionally favor some pretty weird left-field cracked vocal inflections too. On top of it, there are spots even on this mixtape where I hear some Kendrickisms from the instrumentals, from some of the vocal effects and pitch shifts. I don't bring any of this up to discount or delegitimize J.I.D. necessarily. I guess I'm just saying the commonalities that I'm hearing here are just too many for it to be just a mere accident. And I think copying an idea and being influenced by one of your fellow contemporaries is one thing. What you do with it, how you spin it, how you flip it, how you define it to be your own is another. Whether or not you can pull that off, to me, is what defines a copycat from an actual artist. And if anything separates J.I.D. not just from Kendrick, but from nearly everybody else in the contemporary hip-hop field, it's most definitely his approach to lyricism and flow. Take one of the teasers to this project, 151 Rum. Structurally and lyrically speaking, it's not one of the best tracks on this entire record, doesn't have as many quotables, doesn't really have a strong hook or anything like that. It's just kind of this one massive blocked out verse with a few refrains of 151 Rum. On paper, you could say it's a one-dimensional track, but the way J.I.D. approaches flow on this cut, the way that he breaks up his flow into numerous phases on this song provides quite a bit of variation. The vocal switches, the rhythmic switches, not only are there quite a bit of them, but they're all really impressive. I think a lot of this album's appeal can be boiled down to one of the introductory tracks on this thing, Slick Talk. The song features a mystical, futuristic boom-bap beat that, despite its old-school roots, does not sound stale at all. Instantly catchy flows on this thing, a pretty decent singing voice, and way too many lyrical gems to name. J.I.D. just throws them out one after another as if they're like nothing. This song truly lives up to the title because the wordplay is deadly sharp at points. Thankfully, this song, like much of everything else on DiCaprio 2, what makes it so good is really just kind of on the surface. It's right there in your face. Just great instrumental choices, great flows, great vocal performances, clever. It's not super abstract, it's not bogged down in a pompous concept. Okay, but can you play it backwards? I'm sure you could, but I don't know if it would change much. Whatever. J.I.D.'s creative word assembly and his flawless execution are essentially what makes DiCaprio 2 so great. And even though he's a really technically sound and talented rapper, the way he displays his abilities, it's pretty tasteful, not so flashy that it's annoying or obnoxious. It's like he's taken the raw, straightforward, hard-hitting vibe of a mixtape, but has given it the lyrical depth that makes it sort of brainy, but simultaneously you can listen to it casually. Just look at the lyrical banger WESTBROOK, which features a roaring hook from A$AP Ferg. J.I.D. completely blows up on the last leg of the song, saying, "Okay, I'm fired up, I'm really fired up." That moment's pretty intense. J.I.D. and J. Cole go toe-to-toe on the next track, the song Off DEEZ, which features two of the most intense verses on the entire record. J. Cole really ties it up nicely in the second half. Did not foresee him keeping up with J.I.D. at the pace that he does. The song Off to ZOINKYS just oozes charisma. He raps so smoothly over this instrumental that is a nice blend of trap and soul and jazz, upping the intensity of his flow at one point of the verse at this block of lyrics, which I absolutely loved. At the midpoint of this thing, J.I.D. throws out a few mellower cuts with some mostly positive results. The song Workin' Out is gorgeous, it's luxurious, it is blissful, though the song Tied with Black and LMA I did find to be kind of grating, mostly due to J.I.D.'s cracked voice, the weird rhythmic pattern of his flow, the kind of tedious back and forth of the Love on the Rocks narrative, coupled with all of the annoying references to phone screens and social media. I mean, I guess that's very much how love plays out these days, whether it's going good or bad. But maybe JID's portrayal of the situation is so good, I'm annoyed because I feel like I'm in the middle of it. If we're talking gender dynamics, the song Strawberries I thought was much better, which is a really beautiful track about not just loving your significant other, but also kind of being their support system. Being there for the women in your life in general through the traumas and relationships and hardships that they suffer through. There was one bar on this track that stuck out to me about men just generally needing to learn to be more sensitive and not be so insecure about it. The song Hot Box is kind of another typical stoner anthem with a somewhat muddy mix. However, JID's lyricism and the animated vocal performances of Method Man and Joey Badass were kind of enough to make the song shine anyway. The fantastical flows continue on the song Mounted Up. With all the vocal and rhythmic changes JID lays into this track, the song feels like a workout. I'm hitting the treadmill, I'm hitting the ropes, I'm flipping a tire over, I'm doing pull-ups. And the song Despacito 2 is a pretty gritty and hard-hitting finish. I mean, overall, this is a great project. It's probably not as ambitious or as conceptual as JID could probably go down the road, and for sure there's still going to be some listeners who continue to dismiss him because there are some Kendrick Lamar parallels there. I would say there are even some Lil Wayne parallels to a lot of what JID does too. But you know what? The rhymes, the flows, the beats, the songs, they're all generally really quality, regardless of what else out there it kind of sounds like. On top of it, I kind of get the feeling that JID isn't even working at full capacity on this thing, because all in all, this is a pretty raw album. It's not overly polished, and a lot of what JID pulls off, it's almost like he's just doing all of this casually. As great as some of the bars and performances on this thing are, I would not at all be surprised to hear JID completely blow this project out of the water within the next 2 years. And hopefully that ends up being the case. I'm feeling a light 8 on this thing. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, JID, DiCaprio 2, forever.